think I've navigated the technical challenge here, getting this set up. This is the first time I've ever done this. So I'll readily admit, maybe this will be like paint drying, but maybe it'll be the most motivating drying paint you've ever experienced. I don't know. That's what we'll shoot for. So I'm just going to jump into the catalog here, and we're going to look at the photos from September 5th and 6th at Cut Student Bonfire 2020. Um, it's going to be different. It's going to be interesting this year, as you'll see. There's protocols in place with respect to COVID that just make it look different. Um, so we'll jump into that, and we'll see what that looks like this year. So this is the first photo of the day. I was walking between the crews, and just saw something that was shaping up to maybe be interesting, and just turned and tried to capture that, putting on a what's called a virgin stripe to indicate somebody who's new out there, generally a freshman. You put that on the leg, good indicator that if you're looking for an answer to something, this individual probably doesn't know. But in any event, this happens in the parking lot generally before cut. You'll see people getting their stripes on, and obviously she's about to get a stripe on here. But I was hoping that I could get the light from the car there. I was hoping that there would be an interesting look from the light, and I think of these, this is probably as close as I'm gonna get to a good one. One of the things with these photos is that there's many times where I'd look at them and I think, that could have been better. The feet here cut off, that frustrates me. But one of the things with the photos is I'm just trying to put as many out there for people to share and be able to say, yeah, I was there, that was me, even share it with their moms and dads and buddies. So I end up taking photos and sharing and posting photos that I'm not, that I just wish could be better, and I know how they could have been better, but I just want people to see them. So this is one I think this is going to be the best out of that. I'm going to note to self, wouldn't be surprised if later in the year I try the same thing again. The car lights shine in, and some preparations, and I'm going to try and do this one again, and see if I can do it better. And but I like this, and then of course you always got to favor a photo that's got a bonfire ace in the background. That's always nice. All right, so moving on. This is another one that I wish. Just a cool look, but I'm probably not gonna. This one's probably not gonna get posted. It's kind of fuzzy. Maybe I'm being a schmuck, but I do like it. I'm definitely gonna try this one again. This is when I go through these. There's many times where I look and I say, yeah, this one, good idea, but you need to try that again. And this is definitely gonna be one of those. One of the junior red pots here, face covering, clearly social distancing, good bull. So these are the junior red pots getting ready to call for yellow pots and butt pots. So when they call the people who will be leading their crews for the day, they stand near the woods where everybody's going to have to be working, and they call yellow pots, butt pots, and the yellow pots and butt pots come running over for their day's instructions. This is where you're going to see one of the first real differences this year. Bonfire this year, in order to provide for more distance between the crews and also to kind of contain the the impacts of COVID or the potential impacts of COVID. Um, they're 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 doing this thing where they're splitting the crews. So um, they're taking all the crews they have, and they're taking half of those crews and they work them on Saturday, and the other half of the crews work on Sunday. So that way, there's more space between the crews in the woods. And then, if there is anything, if anybody does catch have a reported case of COVID, we're not looking at the whole organization being exposed. We're just looking at, half of the people were in the area with somebody. And there's just so much distance between them and the woods anyway. It's an extra precaution, but I think it's a smart one. So what you're going to see is there's not going to be many people running to these junior red pots because there's just not that many crews. A couple of the crews were sitting out this weekend for participants that had exposure, and just as a precaution, those crews were not out there. So anyway, this is going to be interesting, at least to people who are familiar with what usually the yellow pots and butt pots call looks like. Here are all the jerps who are there that day. There was another jerp who, again, out of an abundance of caution, was home. But these are the three that were there. And the jerp here, right before he called for the yellow pots and butt pots, I overheard him saying, "I want to say it today. I want to say it. Let me say it today." So he was particularly looking forward to calling for yellow pots and butt pots. You might see that he's in the process of yelling. Um, I look at that and I see and I know that, yeah, he was excited to yell this. It doesn't really come through in the photo, so I'm going to see if there's another one that does a better job of illustrating the yellow pot butt pot call. Um, it is fun for me though to go back and look through these and remember the other things that maybe couldn't be caught in the picture, but it's just a fun little thing that is part of the fun of doing this. Just how excited that jerp was. I want to say it today. I'm saying yellow pots, butt pots today. So he said it in order to yell. He did have his mask off to yell so that he could be heard from that distance. But you see, he gets his mask back in place. Still looking for a good photo that kind of illustrates um, the yellow pot butt pot call. Now you see over here in the background. I hope my cursor is coming through on the live. Um, but you see in the background, there's a yellow pot coming around to the left of this tree. You see him running. And what they have to do is they have to run as fast as they can to get to those junior red pots. And here's another one. Here's another yellow pot. So I don't know, let's see if any of these develop into something. I mean, this is what happens when I'm sitting down and I'm in a spot and I want to get that one moment, and I will end up taking a bunch of shots to try and get that one moment. And this is what the process ends up looking like when it's the end of the weekend and I got to go through get to go through, in this case, 1,566 photos. So here we go. They're making it to the junior red pots. And I think we're getting close. I think we're getting close to one, but we'll see. Of course, the yellow pots are running. Blah blah blah. This one I like. This one I like. I like this one. So they've made it. They've made it. The first yellow pot there's looking back over his shoulder. What the hell's taking you so long? Right there in the middle of the frame, there's the Kruger yellow pot who's far behind and I like that. And obviously we have a junior red pot here. Same variation of the posture. What the hell took you so long? I like that. I'm going with that one. Yep, that's the one. All right, so here's a brown pot. Brown pot walking with his chainsaw. There's the crews waiting. Now you see here, see the separation? Here's the Schumacher crew. There's the yellow pot just came back. And all the way down here is these are all FHK folks. So these light green is the Schumacher, dark green is FHK. And there's separation there. So that's by design. They actually have the parking lot divided up, which again is very smart to keep. These are all people who live together anyway. They live in the Schumacher dorm. They're around each other all the time anyway. Um, so this, you know, being in this area together, they're like this all week long. They live in the same dorm. But what they decided not to do was give anybody the opportunity or encourage or facilitate cross contamination, I guess. No fraternizing, they say. So here's Schumacher over here. Way over here is FHK. That was a smart move. I don't know that any of the photos actually catch that though. I mean, that's what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to get the brown pot. I'm trying to get the separation of the crews. I don't know. It doesn't come through unless I'm sitting here explaining it to you. So um, this I like though. This is Kruger, and this is something that they started doing this year too. Is instead of everybody going into the woods at one time, um, everybody goes in one crew at a time. So again, to keep people from bumping into each other. In the first cut, they didn't do that, and they learned, all right, we gotta split people up. Again, very smart. I like the adaptation. Um, Usually, you would see a long train of people going in, and uh, that was in place in the first week. But now you don't. They split the crew up. So I like this. One of these we're keeping. I don't know. It's tough, right? I mean, maybe they all look the same. I don't know. This is the OCD that I go through every week. So all right, I think that's the one we're gonna go through. I like the balance of that. Everything is at this distance is about in the same focus. There's the backdrop of the woods in the background. I like it. That's the one we're gonna go with. This one, I was looking forward to seeing how these turned out. So this is a junior red pot following the crew into the woods, um, uh, making uh, the last crew to get into the woods. And when I set up for this one, I was, like I said, I was really looking forward to um, uh, seeing if I could make that shot work. And I took a few. I don't know. See again, like I said, maybe this is like watching paint peel, but this is what I do every week anyway. Um, I like this one. I like this one. Um, that's FHK going into the woods. There's the junior red pot behind him. Um, so once they're all in the woods, the junior red pots are not going to stop moving around all day. They're not going to stop walking. Every year, I keep meaning, just out of curiosity, to see if we can put a tracker on them or something, just to see how many miles they walk. But it is an insane amount of walking that they do. And I know this year's going to be very, very tough in that they're going to be walking every day of the weekend, Saturday, Sunday, every week, with the crews being split in half. Half of the crews come on Sunday, half of them on Saturday. These junior red pots are going to be doing a lot of walking. Um, So, all right, let's move on from that one. I think I figured that one out. Now, this is another one that I was interested in seeing. um, seeing if it worked out. So this is the red pot log. The junior red pots, dead red pots come back together and they cut down this tree. And it's the log of the year, right? It's the no log's going to be bigger than this log. It kind of sets up. This is don't look at any tree anywhere near this size. It has the effect of kind of keeping people in a range for log size for that year. And it's also, I mean, let's be honest, it's a way of this is what we're made of this year. It's the red pots. That is a massive log. We're still trying to figure out what kind it is, but it's a beautiful, solid piece of wood, and they're gonna burn it. But here he is, the gingerbread pot walking past the log that he cut down that represents his buddies and his dads, and um, wanted I might have to come back and try and get this from another angle, um, but I don't know. I wish I wish that I had this posture from this angle. And honestly, I think that in the background, I think the background is kind of throwing it off too. The two people in the background. Um, I don't know. So I don't know. Tentatively, I'm gonna go with this one, but that definitely I need to look at doing that again better later. Um, I'm gonna try that shot again later, and we'll see what we can do with it. I think it's 1 second. I think I'm gonna cut away here. I think it's gonna cut away for a second from the photos. Um, right, I'll be back. I'm getting some kind of message on YouTube that y'all might experience buffering or something. I don't know. Like I said, I have no idea what I'm doing here on the streaming. We'll see. Hope it's working out for you. All right, so here they're in the woods. They're getting their work started. Um, at the beginning of every day out at Cut, there's this very brief moment where you can get people doing things like just simply moving a small tree side to side, or moving some brush around before they really start getting into the cutting. And I don't know, sometimes that comes across really well as a photo. um, but the other thing is you got to be invested in it, and that's something that I have to try and think about. And when I see that I've taken photos like this and I just look at it and I don't really feel anything, that's my fault. I, from the time I get out there to the time I leave, I have to be, and this is going to be something that I'm going to remind myself going into next weekend. At the beginning of the day, they're just getting warmed up. I try not to be in a frame of mind where I'm just getting warmed up, um, and so there's interestingness in the start of the day, and then just moving a log 5 inches to the left. There's something there, and I need to do a better job representing it sometimes. Um, so this is just what ends up happening. I look at the photos and I beat myself up or whatever. So this is something that is always kind of goofy, at least to me. It's always funny, and I was just talking to one of the Reds about it this past weekend. Um, that when you bring brush to a brush pile and you got like some yopon or a branch or something, um, there's just this funny look because you can approach it like you're taking Iwo Jima, right? You've got this uh, branch or stick or something, and you're gonna throw it on there, and just no matter how hard you throw it, it always just ends up coming back down at your feet, and it's just, it sets up like it's gonna be really cool, and then it just kind of, But I think I remember him doing a better job throwing it, so we'll see. We'll see what happens. I mean, yeah. I mean, he's getting after it. he's gonna throw that all the way over it. I like I like this one. I think this is gonna be the shot from this, but I still think this is gonna be the shot from this. But he actually gets it up there, so good for him. Yeah, good for him. It's just so funny most times. It just ends up landing at the feet. I love it. I always try and catch those. It entertains me. So here we've got a green pot. He's getting ready to do some downswinging on this tree. Cut it down to size a little bit. I know it's kind of cheating, but I like the to get the back of the shirts. Um, it's just such um, an easy way to make the point. The back of the shirt sometimes. Um, Actually, this shirt here was my T-shirt company that I started in the dorm uh, came up with this, and I'm just thrilled that Bonfire still um, uses this shirt. And actually, I didn't come up with it. One of my dorm buddies he came up to me in it was '02, and he came up and he says, "Dion, you need to make a shirt that says I kill trees, and stack the letters on top of each other so it looks like a bonfire stack." And that might be the most genius thing that he ever said. But so my T-shirt company that I had for some years did these, and now Bonfire does them, and it does make a point. It is certainly an impactful message, and it is cheating, but I don't care to to take a photo that features "I kill trees" with some axe work happening. Um, I do I there's a lot of shots where you see the axe coming in contact with the tree, or you see the axe swinging down or something, but there's more to a swing than just that, right? There's not just that moment. There's the whole wind up and everything. And so I think I think this is the shot I'm going to use. I think. Um, Try to keep it balanced. Try to represent every part of the swing. Um, I think this is the one. Um, so here's the junior red pot, and this was I really again, this is another one that while I was shooting it, um, I want to make sure and get this one right with the lighting, the background, just kind of the mood, and junior red pot's mood throughout the day is it's solemn. Is that the word I'm looking for? I don't know. Mean throughout the day, but there's just something about a junior red pot in the morning um, that's pretty intense. And so he's just walking through the woods, monitoring things. Somebody would have just shouted, "Howdy, Mr. Red Pot, sir," um, which if you've seen those Western, you know, National Geographic things or whatever, when a prairie dog sticks his head up and starts barking, that's what "Howdy, Mr. Red Pot, sir" is. That's just to let everybody in the woods know that there's a red pot around. I think I like this one. Him just coming into the frame. He's also just coming into the woods. Um, I think that's the one I'm going to use here. Um, I think that's the one. So yeah, this is the one. I'm gonna mark another one of these, and I'm gonna come back and see if um, I'm gonna come back and see if that's the one I want to stick with. One of these two. I don't know. I think I like this one. I'll come back. We'll see. Um, all right. So this is Kruger. They're in the back. They're occupying what was the core woods the week before. So the core does a really good job of cleaning brush, and so Kruger gets to take advantage of being in a place where there's a bunch of brush that's already cleared. The trees are standing out by themselves. Um, Here the chief is getting ready to set the wedge, sizing up the tree. Now, I should point out he's looking up the tree now. He's already figured out which way he's going to want this to go. He's walked around it a few times. But here he's setting the wedge, making sure that he's setting it where he had intended to in the first place. Excuse me. So that wedge is a little high. One of the things that we got, and we were talking about this again last week, was it was interesting to look at kind of the history of the wedge heights and how the wedge heights just kind of snuck up over time. I mean, this here is almost at his chest level when, in all reality, it is possible to set a wedge down here. But just over the years, over recent years, those wedges have crept up, and last year they went down a good deal again. Um, but here, this one again is a little bit higher, and uh, one of the advantages we found to having these photos is that we can go back and say, um, you know what, it didn't used to be like this. It was lower. Um, and we can also kind of look at the advantages of what does swinging on a tree look like for somebody swinging low versus swinging high. So one of these is gonna work. I like the lighting here. Um, I like the lighting. I like the positioning of a crew chief. Um, Getting the wedge started, the first wedge of the day for his crew, the crew looking on. This is only the second cut, so um, first cut is one experience. The second cut of the year, in a lot of ways, it's kind of like every crew's first cut. In first cut, you're so busy getting your woods cleared out, getting brush out of the way, learning how is most comfortable for you to to set up and get your hands taped or however it is that you're going to do things. Um, and you cut down a few trees, you teach some folks, but really once you come back out the second cut, now you're really working. In a lot of ways, it ends up being like first cut again. And I think I got some here of of instruction and kind of illustrating that. And yeah, so here's the crew chief who is, explaining some things to again, you can see the stripe indicating, this is the virgin stripe. This is somebody out there for the first time, for first year, I should say. And you see him, he's explaining some things about how this tree is going to fall and why the wedge is being set the way that it is, uh, to help this young man make sure that he continues to shape the wedge correctly. Um, so, uh, still instruction, still learning and teaching happening, even though we're in the second cut. And I want to make sure I get that. I like this one. I like this one. He's clearly pointing at something. He's teaching something, and he is clearly paying attention. This is the one we're going to use from that. Again, this is OCD. This is what ends up happening when I go through these photos. I end up stewing over every single group of photos just like this. Um, I just really like the light here in this part of the woods on this day. Um, so I'm trying to work with the fact that there's not a whole lot of light. Um, but I also want to get uh, the axe doing something. And so um, I end up having to play with the exposure, so to let in more of that light, and now we end up getting the axe blur. And there's two opportunities there. There's being able to catch the blur of the axe in such a way that you can understand that it's an axe and understand that it's moving. Um, I mean, that's an opportunity. The other opportunity is if I can catch it right when it hits the tree, then that blur is kind of mitigated, and you can see that the axe is working, but you can see the axe. I did not get the timing right on this one. It's still too fuzzy, but that's just kind of what you have to do when it's lower light. Unfortunately, I don't think that there's any here that, as cool as the light was, I'm not sure that there's any here that did what I wanted. Um, I don't know. I don't know. Like I said, when I look at stuff like this, I think to myself, I gotta go back. Um, I gotta be sharper in the morning. I can't be getting warmed up while everybody else is getting warmed up. I'm gonna pick one. One of these has gotta work. He had a good powerful swing. I want to catch that. This is not just doesn't look as powerful as it was. It didn't look. This doesn't look like the solid swing that it was. And so I'd like to see if I can get something that catches that. See, this is so close. Again, like I said, this is so close. But having to adjust the exposure and you know play with the light the way I had to, for me to make this shot work, I would have had to have caught the axe exactly right, stopping in the moment that it stops against the tree and it isn't moving, so there's not the blur. So that's unfortunately nuts. All right, maybe I'll come back later. I'll just mark one of these so I can come back later. Here's another downswing, right? Somebody else doing it. And I just hopped off that other tree, and I should have been paying more attention when I hopped off. I'm in manual all the time, manual exposure all the time, and I jumped off that one tree and turned around and came back over here. Um, the light there was more available light over here. This is out in the opening in the clearing, and I could have done more to slow down that action, um, but I messed up. I messed up. Stupid. I do kind of like this one though. This I do like this one. We'll leave that. More downswinging. There it is. Money. I like it. Nah, that other one was it. I tried to get this. I didn't get in the right position to get it as good as possible. But they're throwing some brush onto the brush pile here. Um, and, um, that could work. So you throw brush on the brush pile after you've cut the branches off. It's called dicking and topping the tree. You've cut off the limbs and branches. Um, a better position to have been in would have been over this way a little bit farther. And if I was over this way a little bit farther, then I would have been able to get down that whole log and get everybody working together on it. There was a tree laying there in the way. So one of those, um, you got to be paying attention to what's about to happen and see if you can get yourself in a position to see that. So this is all right. Not great, but it's all right. I like this one. We'll do this one. And see, here's the disadvantage, or one of the consequences of setting a wedge a little bit high is, I'm not calling anybody out or anything, but this he's a little bit shorter than the other folks. So you see, he's to hit that wedge. He's using everything he's got up here to keep that axe up. So um, I'd like to see if one of these is usable, um, and a good shot, sure, but one that also illustrates the challenge of a tall wedge. I mean, that you might even put this in a manual for this is why you don't set a wedge up here. Um, that's not fun. Uh, Welcome to my OCD world. I don't know. I think one of these. I don't know. I'll come back and look at those. Let's see. These are the green pots walking back with um, green pots walking back with one of the junior red pots, and one of these. There it is. There it is. Here, let me. I think this is gonna jump off for a second. We'll see. Um, yeah, it's gonna jump the screen off. That's all right. You'll live. I'll be right back. 1 second. Let me check a couple things. So, where were we? Pardon me. Oh, that sucks. I should have muted that. Sorry. um, what? All right. Back to it. No, hold on. All right, here we go. Yes. So that's the one. Well, I'm pretty sure that's the one. I got a few of those. That that's the one. That's the one right there. Everything's centered. Beautiful start to the morning. Good light. Green all around. That green's not going to be there for very long. The green pots and one of their jerps walking together, checking out the woods. I like it. We're going with that one. This one was this one was cool. A brown pot was helping to top a tree here. The tree had come down pretty close to the tractor path, and so he's in there. And the brown pots are the only ones that can use an axe. So he's in there. Um, use an axe, use a chainsaw, a motor axe. Um, so he's in there cleaning that up, and I liked. I was really trying to see. It was interesting to me to see if I could get the sort of anonymous brown pot shot. Just a chainsaw attached to a brown pot of unknown identity, and I think this one kind of does it. But I always secretly hope that one day Steele sees these photos and says, "Bonfire, we would like to help you out." I always feel like always feel like Steele would 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 be greatly benefited by helping Bonfire out. So while I do think that I like this one more, and I think it's because of this kind of obscuring a little bit, I think I'm going to use this one for just the ridiculous reason that if I make sure that Steele winds up in the photos, maybe one day they'll call the Brown Pots and say you're never going to have to buy a chainsaw again. So that's my weird logic on that one. And you'll notice I'm not really doing anything with the photos as far as development goes. I I mean I might sometimes do just a little bit. I might bring the exposure up just a little, but I try and shoot things the way that I see them when I see them. And the only things that I really end up allowing myself to correct, which this is probably a fault. I probably should not do this, but the only things that I really let myself correct is like white balance, and then sometimes I will underexpose. I tend to underexpose a lot sometimes, and so I will try and bring some of the exposure back a little. But I generally don't do a whole lot to change the photos. Um, Again, I maybe I could, and maybe I should, and I've gotten better in doing more with the photos to update them, or not update them, but to correct them. Um, I've been trying to push myself to spend a little bit more time on correcting them, but that's just something I'm not terribly comfortable with yet. Um, Maybe it's my pride. I don't know. I don't ever want a photo to go out and somebody says, "Yeah, that guy spent an hour on in Photoshop on that." So for better or worse, it is what it is. I liked this, and I might have to just make a note to self: go back and get this at some point. This hullabaloo on the side of her pot. Uh, Hullabaloo Hall was a crew up until this year, and so um, I like that. I like that. I might just have to go back and get that to make a better point of getting that. Because I mean, I wish if any one of these worked, it would be this one. In fact, I'm going to mark it and then maybe come back and look at it. But really, what is interesting to me about this photo is hullabahoo. That's the most interesting thing to me about this. I like the throwing the shade. Um, I appreciate that very much. And you see here, I'm trying to play a little bit more with getting more light. But again, to do that, I'm introducing blur, and um, at this angle, the blur from behind with the axe going away, the blur doesn't help. So you don't get the impression of an axe sweeping through the air. You get a what does she have in her hand kind of thing. Um, but this is what I was talking about. If you're introducing if you're opening up to more light by slowing your shutter, then um, you have this opportunity to stop the motion or get the motion stopped, where you are taking advantage of all this light coming in without um, uh, getting the blur. If you can catch that axe the moment that it touches the tree, and and when it touches the tree, it will stop. And when it stops, then you're not going to have the blur. And this worked here. I got it here, which is so great. I got it to stop, but look at up here. So that's going to frustrate me. That was not again. I got what I wanted here. I stopped it. I stopped the axe in motion here. Um, what was? I don't even know. Yeah, 1/80. That's pretty slow for an axe swinging in the air. So good for me. Yay, you stopped it, but you got something here. So that's oh well. Back to the drawing board. Try again later. And here I tightened it up a little bit more. Um, enough with playing with the blur. Um, you do get some of the chips in the air. I don't know. I'll come back and look at one of those later if one of those works. Um, here's the chief watching the tree. Um, yeah, I like getting the chiefs watching the trees. They all have a different style of supervision and intensity. I I like the ones with the chip spray coming back. But if it's spraying chips and the axe is here, this axe is actually headed backwards. But if you look at it, why are there chips coming out? He hasn't even hit it yet. So I don't know. Not that one. But these are always I go back to these a lot. The having the chief in the background with the swing coming through. I'm trying to get him here is what I'm trying to get. I'm trying to get the chief's face here because I'm not going to get it from under here, not at this angle. So I'm trying to get it in between these forearms. Um, and I'm not sure if I did. Yeah, I think that I did. This is always kind of a weird angle, but I like this one. I like this one. This is close enough. Like I said, I was trying to get the chief in between the forearms, but to be able to see his eyes and to see that he's FHK, we're going with that one. That's the winner. Excuse me. Sorry. I gotta find a mute button. There. That's a winner. I like that right before that moment before impact. Everybody's Ted Williams right before. I came in on this one um, with a back wedge that was almost through. Try and get one actually coming down. There. I was trying to peek over her shoulder and get that axe going in. Um, Again, this is always a tricky angle. So when you're swinging, your typical when you're swinging on a tree, you're not just coming in and bam, 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 hitting it there. You're coming down at 45-degree angles, and then you're coming in at 90 and clearing out all that you've dug into. And so, your 45s either open the wedge up um, and do some shaving, um, or your 45s kind of dig in here, and then your 90s clear that out. You actually end up kind of having the effect where if you come in with a 90 up here and then you come down with a 45, you clear it out. Down here, it's the 90s that clear it out and the 45s that soften it up. I was hoping to get something like this. There's a clearing 90-degree strike. There's a 45. I like this one. You want to convey that it's not just whacking away. There's different ways that an axe has to strike a tree, and by the end of the year, you learn how to strike it. When, in what way. There, something like that. Now, I'm pretty sure I got some pretty cool wedge strikes um, on this weekend. This is from the 5th and 6th. This isn't from last weekend. I still have those to get to. I mean, here we are. I'm like, what am I into this? I'm 25% into these photos, and this is 1,600 photos from a week and a half ago. So I've got these, and then we've got from last weekend, and last weekend was another 12 to 1,600 photos. So I don't know. This one's also interesting. Um, Here we got a rarity, and I wanted to get this. So sometimes the gerbs will jump in and clean something up. This tree that they were swinging on here, you might see how if you've been out to Bonfire, if you've cut down some trees, you might see where this tree is about to go the other way. And then this is where that happens. So the tree is kind of gone the other way. It's gotten, there were some vines up at the top of this one. And when this tree started to rock forward, the vines kind of sprung it back. And the vines pulled the tree back into pulled this tree back into this tree here. So this tree is supposed to be falling this way, but the vines up at the top pulled it back into this tree, which is, unfortunate, but this is where we get to see that, yeah, Junior Red Pots know how to swing an axe too. And so he's in here cleaning that up. And I do like to get things that are happening that don't generally happen. And Junior Red Pot jumping in on a tree, that doesn't generally happen. Um, so he's almost got it through. He he came at it over here and took a couple swings, which I didn't get, and the tree went back and continued its fall in the opposite direction. Um, so one of these I'm gonna keep. A red pot swinging on a tree. You gotta remember that. Junior red pot. So here they're hiking the tree out, pulling the tree out. Sorry, I'm cutting away for a second here. I gotta having a look at something. All right. I don't know about y'all, but it's getting late. um, only only 1,200 more to go. No problem. All right. So here they're pulling the tree out. At least getting it to clear the canopy and those vines that, again, there's vines up here that are holding it to this tree here, and they're just trying to get it loose from those. um, I like this. I wish I'd have gotten a um, better showing of the teamwork aspect to that. Oh well. Here's the chief swinging on a tree. He's being watched by a green pot and a senior red pot. uh, I start to try and find out early in the year who the interesting faces are going to be, and this is me figuring out that he has an interesting face. There's some from, oh my gosh, there's some from this past weekend in the Core Woods. There was a mad dog back there, so I'm looking forward to going and looking through those. Um, so they're finishing up the front wedge here, I believe, if I remember correctly. Um, I like this one, big chunks. I think I remember hanging out here for a few minutes on this wedge, so maybe I always like this look. I always like this position. Chips still in the air, catching the recoil of the axe. So when the axe comes off the tree, it's going to come back, and you carry that momentum back up here, and you swing back into the tree again. So I don't know. I like that look. I think that there was maybe a better photo in there. Um, I like this one, opening the wedge up. Um, so I'm going to mark a couple of these, and again, I'm going to go back and what I used to do a lot of that I don't do anymore. Um, I used to do a lot of posting two, three, four photos from the same shot, and I couldn't make myself pick, and I've tried to get better at that. So I'm gonna pick three here, and then I'm gonna come back later and pick which ones of those that I want to keep. You know, you're putting these photos together so that people can look through them and see a story. and experience kind of, this was this tree, or this is what cut looks like, or this is what moving a log looks like, or something. And if you have photos that to you look different, but you put yourself in somebody else's shoes and realize they look the same, and you imagine them looking at them on a website, or you presenting these photos to somebody else in a presentation or a talk, um, and you imagine if somebody sees this photo followed by the one that looks almost just like it, and you can lose people's uh, attention and excitement in what's going to come next. I just saw this photo. Why are you showing me another one? Um, so I've really tried to cut back on doing that, which does make it hard because there were a few good shots from that one tree, and I'll just have to go back later and pick one of the three that I've just picked now. Here's a big old guy swinging on a low wedge. So when you set your wedges low, you get more tree and you get more log to play with. Um, but you also, and I think one of these is going to do a good job of illustrating this. You see the recoil, he's coming back. Um, maybe it was an earlier one. You see the axe is just falling. It's falling into place. Their gravity's doing all the work. A nice low wedge, even with somebody tall as this fella, is gonna make it easier to swing on, because you just, all you got to do is you just got to get the axe up in the air. That's it, and just let it fall. Now this young man is a crew chief in Schumacher. Uh, every once in a while, you get this cool thing that happens where um, you've got your crew chiefs, you got multiple crew chiefs. um, Crews come to expect a certain number of crew chiefs, and every once in a blue moon, it's very rare, um, you'll have a crew that just they don't have as many crew chiefs as they expected or wanted, and this has only happened a couple times that I know of, that a crew chief will come back from retirement. He was a crew chief 2 years ago, and here he is again. Um, Being a crew chief again. It's a big task. It's a huge job, and it consumes your entire year. And you put everything you have into getting this job right. Any leadership position that you hold, you put everything you have into getting it right, and you lay it all out there. And you got to walk out feeling like you've left it all in the woods. And so when you have somebody who comes back to do it again, um, again, so rare, but very impressive to me, and I find it interesting, and I admire it, and I respect the hell out of it, and just a cool thing for somebody to do. Selfless, very selfless, um, to have been a crew chief, and then to see that your dorm could use one more crew chief, and to not say, I've already done it, I'm tired, let me finish school, let me focus on whatever else, um, and to say, nah, my dorm needs me, and I'm gonna come back out, and I'm gonna put the overalls back on again, and I'm gonna be a chief again. That's what he's done, and and that's really cool. And like I said, I respect the hell out of it. Now here he's cut the tree. The tree is coming down. It used to be when we were cutting back, back in my day, um, it was the worst thing you could do to stop swinging on a tree as it was falling. The rules when I was participating were you keep swinging on that tree as it's coming down because you want it to have a clean break. There's pros and cons to doing it that way versus what he's done here, which is to back off the tree as it's coming down. Here it's not yet down yet. I'm jumping back around a little bit. It's not yet down. This photo, let me see how far apart these are. 9:01:34 a.m. 9:01:13 a.m. So just 21 seconds between this one where he's still swinging and this one where he's backing off. But we used to say swing all the way through. They don't do that now. And there's good reasons for doing both. The hard and fast rule these days is you back off the tree. So here he is backing off and the tree's coming down and he's getting ready to celebrate. It's coming. We're still at 9:01 and 35 seconds here, so um, I'm just hammering it. I like this one. I really like this one. The I again, he's been a crew chief before. He's done this before. He's cut down so many trees, and he's always kind of a cool customer anyway. Um, but just yeah, I did it. The tree's dead. Moving on. I like the expression. I like the way he's considering this tree coming down. But that's not going to keep him from whooping. Um, there's the wildcat. So when a tree comes down, you wildcat in whatever class that you wildcats. The freshmen yell A, and the sophomores, the pissheads yell A, and it's really irritating. They do it 5 times, and then the juniors they whoop and they point down, and the seniors whoop and point up and lift their leg. There you go. Hauling brush happens all the time, constantly happening. Brush is always moving. I'm going to make a mental note to self. I'm going to come back out here and get the back of this shirt doing something else. Stay well. I got to get that. If I can come back here and get this later, stay well from behind and people in front wearing masks or in the background facing wearing masks, I'm going to get that shot. Assuming he wears this shirt again, which, in Bonfire, there's no point washing your clothes. They're just going to get filthy again anyway. So you end up wearing the same shirt just so that you end up ratting out just one shirt, not your whole wardrobe. Um, so I expect that I'll see this shirt out there again, and then I can get it again. We're back in Kruger Woods. Again, this year, there's something about this corner of the woods that the light is always so great back here. I find myself going to this back corner of the woods a lot. Um, uh, Kind of like the repose kind of thing going on. Now here's a red pot. This is Raza. Raza downswinging. I'm hoping one of these works. Actually, when I was taking these photos, yeah. So this is Kruger Woods, back corner. One of the participants came up to me and asked me he was asking me about my exposure settings for catching the axe going into a wedge and making chips and making the spray. Um, and I'm gonna get one of these. One of these has got to work. This this is this is an angle that really sets up for if you get that motion blur right. I think this is the one I'm gonna go with. But this young man came up to me and was asking me about my settings for catching the spray coming out of the wedge, and we just started talking about shooting and trying to find interesting stuff. And as we were talking, I just kind of looked down, and it could be, uh, this is a stump. It's just a stump, and there's a tree in front of it. But it just looked interesting to me while we were sitting there talking, and as we were talking about how everything can be interesting and everything can tell a story, if you're interested in making that happen, and and looking down the tree, the story I saw was, um, I think the way I described it to him at the time was, this is a boring stump, and its carcass in the background being dismembered. Right, just this boring, sad, lonely stump watching the rest of the tree um, get hacked into a log. Um, so it was. I definitely want to get one of these because it was kind of a cool moment. Sit there, just be talking about shooting and what is interesting and finding interesting things and normal things, and and this, I like this. This does. This is the story that I was trying to tell as I was talking to the young man standing next to this tree. A stump, what's left of it, getting hacked into a log for the bonfire stack. Another Kruger guy downswing. I think a lot of times it's the first one that does it, and I think it's the first shot there that does it. So Ace in his old age, um, has um, has mellowed. He's become more of a jovial personality. Um, More of a gregarious character. And he wasn't always. Don't get me wrong. He's still not Mr. Personality when it comes to, hey, let's hang out. He doesn't stop very often. So when he does, I do like to try and get that. When Ace the Bonfire Dog stops and hangs out with somebody and lets them pet him. So it is kind of a it is taken as a kind of like a badge of honor. You'll hear people say, "Oh my gosh, Ace let you touch him. That's crazy," um, which is fun. So I'm glad we got that one. But what comes through here is typical Ace, right? He's being petted, he's stopping, but he's clearly ready. He sees something, he's ready to scoot. Um, I think that captures a moment with Ace. Yeah, he's stopping for a second, but he's getting ready to move already. More downswinging from Kruger. Came over here to try and um, get an interesting axe going into a downswing wedge. And I do like this one, but it's you can see a little bit here. You can see some of the blur from the axe was clearly moving. It is still, there's some movement, but it's it it's not enough movement. If it were any stiller, it would be, you would think that the axe was just sitting there. I mean, it already does kind of look like it's just sitting there. So, uh, like here, it just looks like I found an axe sitting there. If it weren't for these little pieces of dust moving around everywhere. Um, Again, I think I might have gotten it right the first time. I think this is the one. I'm pretty sure that's the one. So we'll mark that one. This young man is a beast. Unfortunately, this tree fell right next to a hill. Not a hill, a little pile of dirt. So I was able to climb up on top of it and look down and uh, catch the downswing action here. I think this is the one. More downswinging from Kruger. Believe it or not, Kruger does swing on trees that are standing upright at some point. They got down on the ground somehow. There's just a lot of downswing photos, a lot of downswinging going on when I get back to the woods at this point. So I went back to FHK woods. See some of FHK working. So they're carrying what's called a high port. When you're carrying a high port, it's a log that's small enough that two people can carry it. Um, and there's a lot more of this year. You don't see a lot. By this point in this year, I would have already been able to capture a bunch of photos of people um, uh, of people carrying logs. There's not a lot of that this year because of the COVID protocols. So um, you don't see a lot of people grouped together on a log um, because of social distancing and everything. There's more things being pulled out by tractor. Um, so I mean, it is what it is. It's an important part of the story. I wish that I had more photos. I wish that not just that I had more photos. I wish that there were more opportunities for everybody to carry logs out together. But that's just not going to happen this year. Um, but telling that, showing that, illustrating it, that yeah, there's logs coming out, but they're smaller logs, and people are spaced farther apart on them, and you're only going to be able to carry out the logs that a few people spaced far apart can carry. Um, I think that's an important part of the story. So, the story for 2020, and so uh, I do try and capture that. Yeah, logs are coming out, but they're coming out a different way, and different kinds of logs are coming out. Um, I went back to Schumacher Woods, and right when I walked into Schumacher Woods, this tree was coming down, and I think I got a good one. I think I got an interesting one out of these. Um, I wish I'd have been closer. I wish I'd have gotten there just a second sooner. I always try. This is a scene that I always try to. I'm always trying to play with and see if I can get it better. The when the tree comes down, um, there's when it hits the deck and it compresses on itself, and you see the people behind it, and there's the compression, and then the tree bounces back, and that canopy bounces back. Um, One of these days, I'm going to figure out how to do that and really represent what's happening. Here, again, he's backed off. He's not swinging on it anymore. He's backed away from the tree. I like this one. I like this one. There's a tree clearly coming down. Uh, the chief is pleased with that. Uh, the participant has backed off the tree to let the wedge break and let the tree come down. I'm going with that one. Here they're down swinging, topping the tree to turn it into a log. And now this is sad. This is so sad. Um, One of the things, again, because of the COVID protocols, on this weekend, Walton wasn't out. And Walton is the crew that loads the trucks. They carry these logs generally. In any other year, they're carrying these logs by hand and they're throwing them onto the truck. This year, um, there's more forklift work. It's called mech load, using a machine to mechanically load a truck. Again, I showed these to my wife, and she said, "Oh my God, why are you even taking pictures of that?" The this I don't want to call it the indignity, but I'm an old Walton guy, and so this is not a whole hell of a lot of fun to see a tractor putting logs on the truck, but it's important. It's important that we catch this and we show what Bonfire was willing to do this year, to mechanically load the trucks. Um, Anything to get the job done. And in a year like this, that just means um, loading the trucks mechanically. So I got it. I captured it. I took photos of it. I remembered it. It's gonna be with me forever. uh, Woof. But also, this equipment is donated, and so it'll be nice to be able to give Bonfire some of these photos and let them send these photos to the donors who provided the equipment. And the truck pot still has a job to do, and so there's the truck pot, senior red pot, in his coveralls, um, helping sort the logs that are put on the truck. Uh, when you mech load, you end up spending more time sorting the logs and arranging them and positioning them and getting them to lay down right in the right spots in the right way. And I'm going to be revisiting this a few times throughout the year. Uh, when you throw a log onto the truck, it's coming down. I mean, you're throwing it up in the air from head height, and it's arching through the air, and it's landing with force on the truck. And there's people on the truck who have their hands out, who are catching the log and forcing it and directing that energy down into the truck. And so the logs end up fitting into place very well. Um, there's not much that has to be done to arrange a log that's been thrown onto the truck. When you're mech loading, there's more there's more rearranging that has to happen, and um, and that's what he's doing here. He's getting all the pieces to fit together, which is harder to do when you've mech loaded. So, um, and he's got help. I like the strain on that one. I'm going with that one. More tractor work. Just trying to get different angles on the tractor. I don't know. This is, like I said, I don't do a lot of I don't play with the photos a lot, but I will, something like this. I'm gonna bring it's a little overexposed. I was shooting in one direction and turning around and shooting in another. So I'm gonna play with that one just a little bit, but I think maybe that'll be one we use as well. This is just so. Again, as a Walton guy who loaded trucks, uh, this was this was interesting to me in a let's remember this and hope it never happens again kind of way. But again, anything to get through the year. to get the job done in this weird COVID-19 year. Um, so I like this kind of thing a lot, and this one worked. This one worked. The kind of framing of something using bodies or trees or something to frame something in the frame. And this is what I was after right here. This is a Junior Red Pot checking in on Kruger again. So here I am back in Kruger Woods again. Brown pot doing more topping work. This was the same brown pot that we caught earlier in the woods alone topping a tree. FHK again. I liked the Wu-Tang shirt in the background. I'll be honest. I enjoyed having the Wu-Tang shirt back there, and while I was trying to get this wedge shot, and I think I remember one of these working. I think I remember feeling good about one of these. That might be the one. But I don't know. It's weird. I wanted the Wu-Tang shirt. I think that might be it. So maybe it's this one. This is the one. This is the one. No Wu-Tang shirt. I mean, it's there. But I like these. Let me see if I can. That's a little bit too tight. But that's a good one. I like this one. The chips are coming out. I like that. That's going to be the one from this one. Um, I don't know. I can't get enough. I can't get enough of these kinds of shots. The axe going into the wedge. I like how he had to approach this tree. Um, I do like these as well. The the blur before impact. It hasn't quite happened yet. It just gives you this anticipation. Um, Something's about to happen. But I prefer this one. This was uh, the way the ground was there, and there's a bit of a slope. I don't know. I prefer this one. The way he had to approach that tree. So here they are hiking a log, and and this is back in Schumacher Woods, but when you hike a log, you straddle the log, and everybody gets down, and the crew chief yells, "Grab a bite," and you pick it up, one, two, hike, and you pick it up and hike it through your legs. And here they are doing this in a socially distanced manner. Again, just like carrying logs, it is hard to hike a log socially distanced. So something that you're going to see bigger logs that could have been hiked before. There's going to be more tractors on those. Now, the rules this year, as far as masks go, or you need to be wearing masks, or if you um, as much as possible, um, but we can't have the masks compromising people's ability to communicate and people's ability to breathe. So in this case, he is giving instructions to everybody on the log, and so you'll see that his mask is off. Um, but and you see here he's working. This is hard work. It's hot and humid, um, and so you pull your mask off if you need to communicate or you need to breathe. Um, I think one of these might work. We'll see. Um, and there we go. Mask back on. Getting back after it. Another thing that they're doing is bring out your water. Everybody has their own water. No sharing. Um, there he is back there drinking. Um, I don't know if those worked. Here's a, a guy from the former Hullabaloo, as that one pot we saw says Hullabaloo. Um, they were doing some kind of shenanigans here, and some kind of something, and I tried to get it, but I missed it. One of the junior red pots has found an excuse to commandeer the tractor to do work, but let's be honest, he's trying to keep from walking. And I mean, he's definitely doing work. He's definitely pulling a log out. But if you're smart as a junior red pot, you find a way to have to use the tractor every now and then so that you can get through the woods and uh, not not have to walk. Give your feet a little break. Oh goodness, that's on me. Getting tired. Back in Kruger Woods, moving some logs. So again, we're seeing a lot. It's Kruger, Schumacher, FHK this weekend. Um, that I say this weekend, on this Saturday. So I come back on Sunday. Here we're only halfway through these photos for the weekend. This is just Saturday, and so then Sunday is another day, and there's more stuff from Sunday. Um, so these three crews did not come out on Sunday. The way it works is some of the crews come out on Saturday, some come out on Sunday. It was Kruger, FHK, and Schumacher on Saturday. Um, we'll probably call it a night at the end of this, but there's another half of these photos that are three different crews from the next day. But these were some, and I really hope one of these came through. I'm a sucker for reflection shots and kind of painting the picture of work getting done. There's work getting done. It's happening. Um, and it's also wet and miserable and gross. And to be able to convey both of those ideas at the same time, um, water and mud, um, does that. And so I had to manual focus on this. And so there were a number of shots I had to take here to try and get that. I mean, this one I felt really good about, but I noticed that there was something disturbing the surface here, and that took out what was on his pot, and so I had to keep going. Um, and I was really trying to get an axe and some motion and an action, um, but also get the pot clear, the helmet here to get it clear that this is a person. Um, and so there were a number of shots here in this series trying to make that happen. And this one is close, but you lose the axe head, and you're kind of wondering what the hell is going on. Um, so I think that one earlier might have been it, the one where you could see the axe head. I don't know. The focus is getting better. The manual focus again, so close. But this here, I'm not liking that. I might have to come back here and revisit these, um, and look in more detail and see what I can find. one of those works. I know that one of those works, and I'm going to go back and find the one that works. Here's another one. And if I had gotten one out of these, at this point, I'm just trying to figure out the focus on this. Um, because I really want one that has some identifying information on the pot that says this is a person who's out here in this, and of course, I mean obviously this is a person, but um, it's a little bit that feels a little bit too anonymous, this one. Um, but I did get a couple here. I think I like this one. I think I do. No, well, I think this is the one. Unfortunate that there was some ripple in the water. Something had moved. Do we call that abstract? I don't know. Ugh. Oh, so this I wanted to get the nasty little mud pit they had to move logs through. So I parked here for a little bit and see if I could get somebody making some slop. Again, once again, it might have been the first one that did it. It might have been the first photo. I don't know. I think this is as close as we're going to get on these. I don't know. We'll see. I'll have to loop back and check that one out too. So I got to go back and look at those reflections. I got to. There's one in there that I know does the trick. Um, so far, out of that was over 700 photos from the first day of the weekend. There were 1,566 photos for the entire weekend, and they were split just about in half. And so out of those 700 photos, we've got 53, and I already know that there's two or three that I'm going to go back through and pull out. I was just had them side by side so I could compare which one was best. Um, and so we're looking at 50 photos out of probably 50 photos out of 700 something. And then uh, starting here, we start the next day, and there's about 700 photos after this makes up the entire weekend. So I'm gonna go ahead and stop here. Um, I'm gonna stop here, and we'll come back later, and we'll see. Like I said, this was an experiment, playing around with. I'm doing this anyway. I'm going through these photos anyway. Uh, I'm, somebody walks in the room while I'm developing photos. I end up telling them about what's going on in the photos anyway. So, this was just a new format. We'll see. Maybe we'll jump back on and do this again for the second day of photos from a week and a half ago. And that's the other thing. This is a week and a half ago. So I also have last week's to go through. And by the time I'm done with those, we're going to be putting together more photos from this weekend. So they're coming hot and heavy now. And, this is, especially at the beginning, this is the time of year where I'm trying to get back in the swing of culling these photos and moving through these photos as fast as possible. to get caught up, so that things are still fresh in the mind um, when the photos are published. But tomorrow, maybe tomorrow we'll jump back in. We'll look at Lechner came out, the core came out, one other crew came out. Um, on this Sunday. A pelt was the other crew that came out. Um, you know, here we got a BQ swinging um, uh, from the core. Uh, so a lot of core came out on Saturday or on Sunday. So there'll be a lot of good stuff there. Pelt, Lechner, and the core. Everybody else 2 weeks ago. The other crews that were going to be out there 2 weeks ago, they were all for COVID exposure. Were all isolating. Um, so, uh, we're not going to see any of them. But again, some of the I think, interesting things that are happening this year. You've got the mask, you've got the social distancing, which means you're not carrying logs that are as big. You're not getting a lot of that. Those perspectives. Um, Logs are being pulled out with trucks that weren't pulled out with trucks before. Logs are being loaded with trucks. There's just so much that's different, and uh, hopefully we're going to do a good job representing that. But in any event, so thank you for joining me in this little experiment, and uh, we'll see. Maybe we'll give this another shot with the next round of photos. We shall see. Just follow on Twitter. I'll post these on Twitter at Dion C Gallery, or of course subscribe to the channel. And if we do this again, you'll get the notification if you subscribe to the channel. Or visit dion-c.me to see the photos in their actual published state. dion-c.me is the website. So, yeah, thanks for joining me, and build the hell out of Bonfire. Gig 'em.